I've got serious issues with the Scottish hate crime law. Uh, not so much because I want to champion J.K. Rowling. I really don't. But because I think there's a difference between something that is distasteful and something that is criminal. And while the police have so many difficulties in pursuing things which are demonstrably criminal and which are hurting people, I think adding to their workload in a way that is probably spurious is a foolish gesture towards saluting the subjective rather than the objective. If I wanted to suggest that I was a child, nobody would take me seriously, even if I self-affirmed that I was a child. Nobody would take me seriously. And so far, I don't think there is a medical procedure that could reverse age. There are medical procedures that can change gender and provide people with a solution to the gender dysphoria issues, which have always existed. But the question is, does that make a man into a woman? Does that make a woman into a man? I presume if there is surgery involved, arguably it does. If there's a legal definition involved, arguably it does. If there's simply a decision by the individual, well, that's an opinion. And that's neither backed up by surgery, medical fact, nor is it backed up by legal definition. It's about a subjective feeling. Now, my instinct is that if somebody wishes to self-identify, then society should be kind enough to go along with that. Julia Hartley Brewer and J.K. Rowling take a different view. They're much more opposed to the ideological and mythological defiance of reality than I am. And the new legislation in Scotland, the Hate Crime Public Order Act, this is Scottish law in practice, the sort of law that has been possible since 1999, since devolution, the sort of law that comes with 17 years of the SNP and a failure in the NHS, a failure in education, a failure in the economy, in tax, and perhaps, arguably, a form of distraction from all this failure to something that maybe the Scottish government thinks it can control: free speech. There are things that Scotland has done very well. For example, it now produces 20% of UK renewable energy. It still produces North Sea oil. It's still got some of the most beautiful landscape in the country. But this move to build on the Public Order Act of 1986 to criminalize hate speech and to identify the various categories against which hate speech can become a criminal action: race, age, disability, religion, sexual identity. This, Humza Yousaf says, is necessitated by a growth in hate in Scotland, by a climate of toxicity which has seen graffiti outside his house and his windows smashed. A deplorable behaviour. My argument here would be that we need to have more education. We are not going to solve this problem by criminalising it, but instead by encouraging generations, a slow process, to be nicer, to be kinder, to be more considerate, to see ourselves as others see us, to see ourselves in others, to recognise each person as an individual with their own individual foibles, a uniqueness and qualities which need to be encouraged and preserved. So jokes at the expense of a disability, jokes at the expense of a race, jokes at the expense of a religious identity. This is just bullying in the name of a laugh. But there are other categories which are not protected. And this is the problem with a law. A law is written with legal language, and you look at that language and think, well, what is not protected? Class is not protected. There are many issues which people speak cruelly about, which are not protected by this law. Indeed, women are not protected by this law. That seems like an oversight, doesn't it? And to what extent are we criminalizing an emotion? To what extent are we criminalizing an experience of the other? And surely that is about a lack of education rather than something which is fundamentally criminal. And we come back to the failure of our school system, the obsession with bureaucracy and with organizations like Ofsted, rather than empowering our teachers and our university teachers to promote better practice in schools, better practice in homes, better practice in society.